I'll begin by saying that growth does not happen by accident, but rather by choice. And this comes from the idea that you choose to be intentional. So, join me in this episode as I explore the idea of intentionality and the 5 capitals of your life. This is Beizzo's Kiboozi. So, what is intentionality? Well, there is a school of thought that intentionality is the fact of being deliberate or purposeful. Like, if you decide to deliberately do something, to deliberately make sure that you're more purposeful, then you're intentional. So, in whatever you do, whatever you speak, whatever you think, or even feel, you have to be more intentional. Because what happens is that the more you're intentional about your life, or the more you're intentional about how you speak, whatever you're doing, what you're thinking about, your feelings attract growth, and you also attract happiness. Because the reason as to why everything good gets to your line is because you've decided to become more intentional about receiving something in your life. So, the pursuit of something in your life is actually intentionality. If you go out there and you say, I'm going to make sure I get this, I'm going to make sure I succeed, I'm going to make sure I improve myself every day, that's intentionality. I'll relate this to the parable of the talents in the Bible. In the Bible, we are given a story from Jesus. There was a rich man, and this rich man, when he was going for, I think, his vacation, he gave talents, or I can call it investments, or money. Let's use money because it's a better way of understanding this. To his servants, his 3 very good servants. So the first one, he gave him 5. Then the second one was given 2. And the last one was given 1. Now this whole story turns around on only one guy. The guy who was given the 1 talent. So this guy, because he feared his master, said, because my master is very strict and what, let me get his talent and put it, I hide it somewhere, so that when he comes back, I'll give it to him back. Which other people did not do. Now the guy who was given 5, when the master came back, the guy had 10. The guy who was given 2, when the master came back, the guy had 4. What does that mean? These guys, when they were given the gifts, because God gives us the gifts, when they were given the gifts, they decided to multiply them. They decided to increase the value. And the master was very happy with them. But then the master was very angry at this guy who got 1. Because the guy, in his fear, he put the 1 talent, hid it, and waited for the master to come back and give it back to him. What is the moral of this story? Is that whoever has been given more is expected of them. So you have to be more intentional. These guys who were given 5, this guy who was given 5 and the guy who was given 2 were more intentional to make sure that they keep the master's talent, but however increase it. For you to grow, you have to be with such a mindset, because either way you're going to give back the owner that money, but however you're going to give back more. So that's why they say those who have been given more more is expected from them. And this will bring me to what I call the 5 capitals of life. So God has given us the 5 capitals of life. Okay, it's in different measures, but all of us have been given these 5 things. That is a financial capital. All of us have been given money to some level, to some extent, rich or poor. All of us have been given money to some extent. Then physical capital, how we look, the body, the mind, everything. Your voice, your stature, how your body is. Some of us are short, some people are tall. Physical capital. You've been given physical capital. The intellectual. You've been given a mind. And this mind is for you to think, for you to create, for you to innovate. Then you've been given relation. Even Adam was given relationship capital, relational capital. Whether you're introvert or extrovert, you've been given the ability to make friends, the ability to make relations. Because the first thing is that if you've been put into a family, your first friends are your mother or father. Then your mother and father may make another kid if you're like the firstborn. So that other kid is definitely your brother or sister, but a friend to you in the long run. Then the last capital is the spiritual. Now all of us, in one way or another, whether you believe in God or you don't believe in God, but you have something you believe in that is spiritual, something that is unknown, that we can't see. You've been given that spiritual capital. Now the idea is that we treat these as the talents of life, because there are 5. The 5 capitals of your life. So invest in each of them, because each of them complement each other, and that is you being intentional about each of them. Check this: if you're intentional about making money, you're going to make it. You're really going to make it. If you're intentional about making money, you're going to look for it. That's why they say, azinonya azifuna. Truth be told, if you're seated just there, just enjoying life, relaxed, money won't come to you, because money is like a friend, and a friend who is not treated well, who is not looked for, will not come. Okay, for money is a different friend. Money is a friend that shows off. You know that friend that shows off that, man, if you don't call me, I won't call you. If you don't check on me, I won't check on you. That's how money is. And your relationship with money starts building the other capitals of life. Same applies to the physical capital. When you're intentional about your physical, the way you look like, bro, sister, you move. There are chicks, there are ladies, sorry to call them chicks, but there are ladies that are very intentional about the way they appear. You find them makeup, what. Same applies to my men, the boys. Find guys who are buffed, they are working out, they are more intentional. The more you get intentional about something, you bring out the results. You produce the results. Because if you're not intentional about something, it does not move, it stays normal. Same applies to intellectual, your mind. If you're listening to this, you're investing in your mind. If you're reading books, you're investing in your mind. You're making sure that you're building that capital. You're building that capital. Then, relational capital. Introvert or extrovert, like I said, you have the basis to start a relationship. And I'm not talking about love. I'm talking about you networking. One way you can invest in relationships is attending those networking events. Funny bit is that most of them are free. And you find people, because they want to stay in their bubble. Because just like even in school, there were guys who just liked being in their bubble. They don't want to associate with people. They are showing off. They are what? But someone told me that the only place where you meet very many people is during school, during university, during the time when you're still exposed to them. That's why you find people who are homeschooled. It's a good thing, but people who are homeschooled don't have very many friends. They have very few friends. So, invest in your relational capital. Learn how to speak to people. Learn how to network. Learn how to treat people well so that you can easily make friendships with those people. Then the spiritual. Like I said, and I'll always say in all my podcasts, whenever I talk about the spiritual, if you do not believe in something, then you're living for nothing. Every person, each and every one of us, there's something you believe in. And this thing is unknown. This thing, okay, me, I believe in something, no, God. But there's this thing that you believe in that keeps you moving, the hope, the faith, spiritual. Now, if you're Christian, how you build your spiritual capital? Surround yourself with people who are going to grow you spiritually. People who are going to provoke you to read the word. People who are going to provoke you to go to church, to fellowship, to know more about God. Wake up in the morning, open your Bible, read. Like the song says, read your Bible every day, read. That's how you invest in the spiritual. Because each of these complement each other. Now, let me just make for you a small relation. Check, if you have money, people who have money look good. You've invested to make sure you get money. You start to look good. Same applies to your knowledge. People who are rich know very many things. They know very many strategies. They know very many small things to make sure they stay successful. Same with relationships. If you're broke, very few people are going to be your friends because you're a stress to the nation. You're a stress to the community. Poor people are very angering. When you make a comment in a meeting, people look at you and they're like, what's wrong with this man? That's because you don't have money. And most times, people without money look very shabby. So, when you invest in having money, you look good. And you also turn out to be more clever. And also, your relationships are sieved. Rich people know very many people. You find a rich guy knows the LOC. Rich guy knows them. Rich guy knows this. Knows this. That's why there is that sentence, Gambanogo. You think poor people leverage that statement in public? Gambanogo? No. Because they have no one to talk to. They have no one to talk to. Yes, if you're not Ugandan and you're wondering what Gambanogo is, it is, please talk to this person. Like if you're in an issue, if you're held by the police or you're held by someone in authority, so you get your phone and tell the person, to talk to this person so that that's the issue that is holding you there is solved. Now, if you're poor, if you're poor, even the policeman will just laugh at you, because there is nothing you're going to do. You're gone. Then the spiritual. Ideally, in life, if you work out your spiritual, the rest falls in line. Because things in this world, the patterns of this world, are first spiritual and then become physical. You realize the origin of the word deja vu is because you saw it somewhere, you don't know where, but it's happening now. That's a small example that things first be spiritual, then become physical. If you mentalize being rich, being what, life starts to align for you to get rich. At the time of me recording this podcast, I was thinking of making an investment in something. But the law of attraction has just showed me every time I'm just seeing it everywhere. I'm seeing it everywhere. I'm seeing it everywhere. And what does that mean? That in my mind, I mentalized, I visualized, spiritualized it, and it is yet to become the physical. Invest in each of these, be intentional on each of these, because they complement each other. They do complement each other. And bro, after doing that, tell me if you won't be successful. Because when you're intentional, you're more aware. You're more aware of things. When you're intentional about whatever you say, you know that, hey, I said this the other time, I said this the other time, I said this the other time. You're keeping track. Same with thinking. If you think intentionally, your thoughts are more parallel and more purposeful. If you start to do things and you're doing them intentionally, you're putting an extra 10%. Because everyone listening to this, I expect that in your life, if you're required to do something at 50%, do it at 60%. So that the 10% makes you different. The 10% puts you in a different league. So be intentional, put more emphasis on making sure that your life gets in line. The one thing I can say is that being passive in all these is an enemy to progress. If you're passive in your financials, in your physical, you're just there living badly, living the way you want, you're just eating whatever you want, you're going to get sick. So being passive in any of these things is an enemy to progress. So go after your life with intentionality. Until next time, thank you for listening.